Audible. So let's very quickly start the session. Let me just share the screen. Okay. So in today's session, we are going to be covering, just let me share the screen first. Yes. So in today's session, we'll be covering the speaking sample answers and how we can actually practice with perfection how to give a perfect answer. So now you already know that speaking, it is based, or I would say it is marked on 4 criteria. The first is fluency and coherence, then you have lexical resource, then you have grammatical range and accuracy, and the last one is the pronunciation. Now, in order to score a higher band score, you cannot ignore one and focus more on the other. It has to be a perfect equilibrium if you want to get a higher band score. So you have to focus on all of the aspects in complete balance. So you need to make sure that your fluency is in practice. You know that you have good lexical resource. By fluency, what I'm trying to mean is that when you speak, words come out naturally, and there's a flow of vocabulary, there's a flow of word, and it does not sound incoherent. The next is lexical resource. Lexical resource is nothing but the kinds of words that you use, all the kinds of synonyms, all the kinds of um, vocabulary, all the kinds of idioms and alliteration, all of this, they fall under your lexical resource. Then after that you have grammatical range and accuracy, which is nothing but how well can you structure your answer in terms of tenses, how well can you use the tenses, in terms of sentences, what kind of sentences do you usually use, do you just restrict yourself to using simple sentences, or can you incorporate complex as well as compound sentences. So all of that comes in your grammatical range and accuracy, and last but not the least is the pronunciation. Now, the thing is that people speak in English, but they just don't sound that they're speaking in English. So, like a lot of people, they say "I go," even though this is an English phrase, but it does not really imply the correct meaning, and it has some kinds of errors. Or you might have seen a lot of people, they pronounce the word turmeric as turmeric. So the pronunciation here differs, and it beats the whole purpose of you speaking and showcasing your fluency skills. So all of these four keys are taken care or taken considered, or they are considered before you actually give the response. So it's very important that you have all of the four in complete balance to get a perfect, or to give a perfect IELTS speaking answer. Now, when we talk about fluency and coherence, fluency is nothing but your ability to speak smoothly without too many pauses or hesitations. Now, we all know that it is humanly impossible for you to speak like a robot without thinking. But what becomes an issue is when you're trying to speak and you're trying to prove a point, but you use a lot of fillers. Now, fillers could be in the form of sounds, it could be in the form of one word, or even sometimes people use sentences. For example, what I'm trying to mean is, you know what I mean. So these are sentences that they do not really add um, any matter to what you're saying, but it shows that you are at a lack of, or at a loss of words. So fluency is sometimes, or it refers to the ability to speak at length without too many pauses or hesitation. The next is coherence. Coherence is basically how logically your ideas are presented and linked together. That means, imagine you're telling a story, so you will begin by an introduction, you will have a very beautiful storyline, and then you're gonna have a climax. This is what coherence means, that everything flows like water. You make sense when you're speaking, there's clarity of thought. All of this comes under coherence. Now, how can we develop fluency and coherence? The first thing is to practice regularly. Now, when I say practice regularly, you cannot be oblivious with the grammar and yet be able to speak clearly. That's not going to be a possibility. So you should have knowledge of at least the basics clear. What are auxiliary verbs, what are modals, what is a noun, what is a pronoun, what are parts of speech. At least this should be clear, and then you start speaking regularly. Now, the next is try to engage yourself with people who definitely know English and can guide you. So, regular speaking will definitely help you to get better at fluency and coherence. The next one is linking words and phrases. When we talk about linking words and phrases, they actually mean the kinds of connectors that you use. Connectors are sometimes referred to as linkers as well, like as well, that I just used, or moreover, or having said that, or apart from that, all of these words are your linkers, and they basically help you to keep your thoughts together as channel, and you can actually help yourself better at in terms of what idea you're trying to put forward. So for example, if you look over here, it says, firstly, I enjoy reading books because it allows me to relax. Moreover, it helps me to learn new things and improve my vocabulary. Lastly, it's a great way to escape from reality and immerse myself in different worlds. Now, if you look, this example is a very beautiful one because it starts with a couple of linkers. It has firstly, it has moreover, and it has lastly. Imagine you are speaking in front of somebody, and he would definitely not really know when you're going to end your talk. So it's very important that you give them a brief before you actually end the talk by saying lastly, or you can even say and or you can even say, I'm going to say the last thing, and then you just make sure that the other person knows that this is the going to be your last word. So that is how using, and that is why using linkers is really paramount. The next one is lexical resource. As I already told you, lexical resource is nothing but the kind of vocabularies that you have. Sometimes people use very normal vocabulary, and that's fine, but if you are aiming for, let's say, a C2 level English, or if you're aiming for a C1 level proficiency, you need to use synonyms, you need to use antonyms, you need to use paraphrasing, you definitely need to use phrases. And if you keep on repeating the same words again and again, it shows that you are actually struggling in terms of idea, and a person who cannot come up with idea will not be able to converse with people. So it's very important that you bank on the synonyms, you bank on the paraphrasing. Why? Because when the question arrives, you can actually present your thought using a mix of vocabulary. So for example, if you want to say I like, you can say I enjoy, you can say I really love, you can say I absolutely enjoy, or you can say I have an affinity towards. So these are all synonyms for like. For I am fond of, you can say I'm really passionate about, I really like, you can say I really enjoy, I really love to indulge myself in, and then you can continue. Then if you want to look for synonyms for important, you can say it's crucial, it's vital, it's significant, it's paramount, it's imperative. So these are some synonyms for um, important. Now, sometimes what you will have is you will have a topic, and then you'll have to speak on that particular topic, which is a very common case in the speaking part too, where you have a topic, and then you have to bank on some vocabularies, and you have to expound on those vocabularies in the 2 minutes time frame. So there you need to know specific vocabularies related to that particular topic. For example, if your topic is technology, if the question is tell me how technology has really changed over the years, you need to know the examples, you need to know the synonyms for technology. It could be digital era, it could be the era of AI, it could be technology can be synonymously used with innovation. So you should know all of these vocabulary, so that whenever you're trying to speak, you have a bunch of words to cherry pick from. The next is grammatical range and accuracy. When we talk about grammatical range and accuracy, I already told you that it means how many words or how many kind of sentence structures can you incorporate while speaking. So if you are somebody who can only use simple sentences like I like to go, I like to eat, I'm going to sleep, I will wake up at this time. So this means that you have a very limited sense of English. So you need to definitely know, you need to understand, and you need to have clear idea about what are different kinds of sentence structures, what is a present tense, how does it differ from a complex and a compound sentence, and what can I do to incorporate everything when I speak. So of course, what you can do is, let's say a question is of the past. So you can definitely answer it in the past tense and also take it forward to present and future. Let me give you an example. If they say, if the examiner asks you, are you somebody who really enjoys swimming? So you can start from the past. So you can say I was somebody who had hydrophobia and I could not really step into water, but I really wanted to overcome my fear. So I started going to, or I joined swimming classes. Now, if I tell you honestly, I would call myself a water baby, and I plan to continue learning swimming for the next coming future as well. So now how beautifully you have transformed, or you have literally transcended from past to present and into future. This makes this like gives you a clear fair share of idea that you can definitely use vocabulary very flexibly. So that is another thing that you have to do. You need to be able to use vocabulary in a very flexible manner, starting from present to past, and then even to future if it is a possibility. Now, the next one is practice different tenses and grammatical structures. I think I have already told you, and I've really stressed enough that when you're talking about a topic, you will definitely not just get one tense. So maybe the question says that how has your perception changed as you've grown older? So that means that you have to start from your past tense and you have to eventually end your conversation at the present tense or at present tense scenario. So of course it will require you to use both present, past, and sometimes even future tense, and that is what you are actually required to get a higher band score. So to sum up, what I'm trying to insinuate is that you have to have some information about the tenses. You need to know what are parts of speech. Modals and auxiliary verbs are really important. So just brush up your skills and then you can really practice better. But if you don't have any information about the grammar basics, it becomes a very difficult task for you to really explain yourself. The last one is pronunciation. When we talk about pronunciation, we do not want you to sound American or start sounding like a Britisher. Of course, that is beyond your control, right? But what we want, or what the IELTS, I would say rubrics they require from you is the sounds that you produce should come under natural way of sounding in English. For example, a lot of people from down south, they don't say honest, they say honest. So the phonics there is not correct. So honest will be sound, if the word is honest, it should sound like you are saying honesty is the best policy, or you use honest, it should sound like that you have used the word honest and not honest. Because of course honing and owning, like of course as you use words in different pronunciations, the meaning changes. So what you need to do is you have to first make sure that the words that you're pronouncing, they are universally accepted and universally pronounced words. You do not let your mother tongue influence, which is also called the MTI, get into the way of your understanding or your speaking of the words. So what you can do is you need to listen and mimic. Instead of watching videos, I would suggest you to watch a lot of podcasts that shows you, how can you speak naturally. For example, if I have to give a very famous YouTube example, you can watch the video from Keith English Speaking Academy or something. He speaks really beautifully. He has a lot of accents that he can imitate. So without watching those videos, you can just listen to those accents and see if you can really understand them or not. The next is work on stress and intonation. While we speak, there are certain words we want the audience to really focus on. So we put a special stress on those kinds of words. And intonation, as I told you in the previous class also, it's the rise and fall in your voice when you're trying to speak something. Let's say when you're angry, you are very high pitched. That's because of the intonation. When you're sad, or when you're very melancholy, you will speak in a way which will sound that you're not really feeling well. So intonation is again something that has a lot of importance in the speaking structure, and you need to make sure that you are using intonation and stress on words where you want the audience or the speaker or the examiner to really focus on. So this is about pronunciation. Now we are going to have a look at the sample answers. So the first is let's see how does a 5 band score or band 5 answer differs from a band 9 answer. So if the question is, do you work or are you a student? A typical average band 5 student would say, yes, I work, I have a job in an office, it's okay, I work with computers. Let's say a band 6 answer would be, I work as a software engineer. My job is, I like my job because it is interesting and I enjoy programming and finding solutions. Yes, it's better, but not really very profound. But if you look at the lens of a band 9 speaker, he would answer it like, I am currently employed as a software engineer at a tech company. My job involves developing and optimizing software solutions, and I find it both challenging and rewarding. I enjoy collaborating with my team and constantly learning new technologies. Now, see how well put together this answer is. The person has told that he is not a student; he's a working professional. He also told about the job, the kind of work that he has to operate in his job, and he has also been open about the fact that he finds this job both challenging as well as enjoyable. And then, of course, he ended his speech by saying, I enjoy collaborating with my team and constantly learning new technologies. So, this is the correct way of answering the question. You cannot answer any question in a word or maximum a sentence, because this is a speaking test, and um, how well you sentence structure your answers, it will be directly professional to the it's going to be directly proportional to the kind of band scores that you get. If you explain yourself really well, you will definitely get a higher band score. If you just give one or two word answer, of course you will not really get that high band score. All right, again, let's have a look at another question. The question is, do you live in a house or an apartment? If you are at a band 5, you would say, I live in an apartment. It's small but cozy. It's in the city, so it's convenient. Yes, you have given the answer, but they are very broken and incoherent. If you look at this, I live in an apartment. It's a small but cozy. What does that mean? It's a small but cozy. It's in the city. Again, there's no connection. There is no relation with what you've said before to what you're joining with the next sentence. So of course you will get a band 5 because your ideas are not making sense. The band 6 answer would be, I currently reside in a 2-bedroom apartment in the downtown area. It's comfortable and suits my needs well. See, even though it's not really very explanatory, but it's still better, and that's why you get a band 6. For a band 9 answer, you can see it says, I reside in a spacious and modern apartment suited or situated in a vibrant neighborhood. It offers stunning views of the city skyline and provides convenient access to amenities such as supermarkets, parks, and public transportation. Living in this apartment enhances my urban lifestyle, and I appreciate the comfort and convenience it provides. In one answer, there is an inclusion of around 4 to 5 really good vocabulary, and this is what sets you apart from a band 5 to a band 9 answer. The more visually appealing your answers are, the more you can visualize the answer. That directly means how well have you structured the answer, simply to put. All right, there's another question. Can you, a lot of students, they ask me, can I give yes and no answer? For example, if the examiner asks me, do I like pizza? Can I say yes, I do, or no, I don't? The answer is no. You will have to explain everything that you say. So if you say yes, I do, you need to have an explanation for that. And if you say no, I don't, still you need to explain why don't you enjoy a particular thing. So if the question is, do you often wear glasses? If the answer is yes, you can definitely change it, paraphrase it to saying, I frequently wear glasses, especially during sunny days or when engaging in outdoor activities, as they offer protection against harmful UV rays. Moreover, glasses allow me to express my style after and while safeguarding my eyesight while I'm strolling along the beach or driving. Wearing sunglasses is an essential part of my routine. So you have explained why do you wear sunglasses, and you've explained the fact that it helps you protect from the sunlight. It lets you style yourself better. So you've given a very comprehensive, you've given a full answer. When we talk about no, it says certainly I seldom wear glasses. Seldom means you don't really wear them very frequently. I find them unnecessary for my daily activities, as I prefer experiencing the world with clarity and without any tint. Moreover, I enjoy embracing natural light and believe in the importance of allowing my eyes to adjust to varying light conditions, enhancing my overall visual perception. What I'm trying to tell you is any answer, be it a yes answer or no answer, is completely fine. You don't have to impress the examiner by just agreeing. If you have more points for the disagreement, if you think that you can really explain yourself better if you disagree, do that and come up with points that really explain your answers. So if it is a yes answer, you'll have to explain it. Even if it is a no answer, you'll still have to explain it. Okay. So the next is again there's another question that do you like crowded places? So see, there's a synonym used called hustle and bustle. Hustle and bustle means the noise, a lot of people. So the answer here is not particularly. I tend to avoid crowded places as I prefer quieter environments where I can fully relax and focus. The hustle and bustle of crowds can often feel overwhelming and draining for me. I find solace and in serene settings where I can appreciate tranquility and engage in meaningful activities without distraction. Now, words like solace, serene, tranquility, hustle and bustle, they come under, I would say they come under actually C2 vocabulary. They are really highly profound words. So if you want a higher band score, you will have to use these kinds of words very very generously while you speak, because the more good words that you use, the better you'll get the band scores. Now, sometimes what you have is a lot of people ask me, what kind of questions can I expect in part one? So the thing, if you look at all of these things, if you look at all of these questions, it says, do you often lose things? So if you see, the center of all these questions is you. Okay, what can we? Okay, why do some people like collecting things? Some people collecting your country, you, again, you. If you look at all of these questions, you will find one pattern, that all of the questions will have you in them. So like what I'm trying to say is, for questions in the first part, the center focus is to take your view on things. So the center or the main focus of the question is to understand you and your perspective. Like, are you a morning person? Do you like sunrise? Are you an evening person? Do colors influence you? So they basically want to ask you on your opinion on things. Okay. So the central focus of all the topics of part one would be you. Do you cherish friendship? Are you somebody who makes a lot of friends? So every question will have you in it, and you have to answer it accordingly. So there's a technique that we follow, that is that's called I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna make it better. So the strategy that we follow for these kinds of question is opinion, reason, and example. Okay, that's called an ORE technique. Opinion is, let's say, do you often lose things? So opinion would be yes I do, or no I don't. Reason being, you can say I don't really easily lose things, because I'm somebody who really takes care of my things. I'm a very careful person. I'm a very responsible person. And then you can give an example. For example, if I have to take care of my things, be it might or rain, I would definitely do it no matter what. So now you have given an opinion on the question, you have given the reason behind your opinion, and you have given an example to explain your idea. So we follow the ORE technique. Okay. Coming to the next part, which is called the cue card round. In the cue card round, you will have a topic and you will have subtopics that you need to cover in your conversation. And to prepare, they give you a minute, and after a minute, they ask you to speak on the topic for minimum of 2 minutes. All right. So here you have a topic. Describe an advertisement you like or you liked, and you should say where and when you first saw it, what type of advertisement it was, and the product or service it advertises, and explain why you like it. Now there are 5 things that you have to do in this question. You have to describe an advertisement, you have to talk about where did you find it or where did you see it first. You have to talk about the fact that what kind of ad is it and what product or services does it advertise, and you also need to explain why you really like it. To explain all of this, you will get 1 minute to collect your thoughts together, and you will also be provided with a sheet of paper and a pen. So you have to put down your thoughts together and you have to write everything that comes to your mind, okay? But make sure you're not writing it in full blown sentences, because if you continue writing sentences, it will, like, a minute will definitely be very less for you. So make sure that if you're writing down, you're not writing down full sentences, rather you're just writing down the keywords, okay? And then you can explain on the answer for 2 minutes. Definitely 2 minutes is not a lot of time if you're well prepared. So here is a sample answer. If you may want, you can definitely give it a screenshot or take a screenshot, and you can use these words. For example, it says one ad that I particularly like is for the iPhone 15. I first saw this advertisement on television, which was live streamed in 2023. This advertisement falls under the category of product launch commercial, specifically targeting tech enthusiasts and potential buyers. The advertisement promotes the iPhone 15 and the latest iteration of Apple's iconic smartphone. Da da da. Then you have a lot of words like sleek design, cutting edge features, sustainability, impeccable, its innovation and visually stunning approach, the cinematography, exquisite detail. So see, these words are something that you do not really hear in your day-to-day vocabulary, and that is how it sets the answer from a the 6 band score to a 9 band score. So you will definitely have to have a structure in your answer. B, it should make sense. C, you need to have coherence and cohesion. And the last thing is that you need to have really good vocabulary if you are aiming for 7 band and above. All right. Now we have another question, like what are the most advertised products in your country? So here also see there are so many connectors used, firstly, secondly, thirdly, furthermore, and lastly. And see, when you are, let's say it's a third part question, okay, you will have to use these sequential words, because unless and until you do that, the examiner would not be able to tell whether you have come to the end of your speech or is there something that you're going to add more. So to make it more coherent for the examiners, you invariably have to use these connectors. So firstly, secondly, thirdly, furthermore, and lastly are something which is ineffable. You have to definitely use them to make your words sound better. Now again, there's another question that is very frequently asked, and this is a second type question again from the cue card round. Describe an occasion when you lost something and then you got it back. You should say what you lost, how you lost it, where did you find it, and explain what you did to find it. Again, when you have these, you basically have an idea, a roadmap of what needs to be included in the answers. So if following the roadmap, just write 1 word, 2 word maximum answers, and then you build on the vocabulary when you're told to do it in the 2 minutes mark. Again, there's like an example here. If you want, you can give it a read. A few months ago, I experienced a nerve-wracking incident. So nerve-wracking is something that really shakes you to the core. Incident where I misplaced my handbag. Now you've talked about a memorable instance of losing and reclaiming something dear to me. Occurred when I misplaced. Again, you have to explain what did you misplace and how did it make you feel when you got it back again. And it here again it has used a phrase, a wave of relief. A wave of relief means that you get a sudden gush of feeling of, happiness. You feel satisfied, you feel less worried. So they have used it really very gracefully in the sentence, and when you use them, make sure it is contextual. What you're trying to say gets better tenfolds with the inclusion of these vocabulary. It should not become convoluted all the more, right? So this is something that you have to do. Now again, there are more questions. I've attached some more samples for you to get a fair share of idea. The next question could be, why do people lose their things? Now here, if you look, these questions, why do people lose their things? What can people do to avoid losing their stuff? Or um, these kinds of questions, they do not require your opinion, right? They do not say, why do you think? Here, the questions are going to be, based on situations, and they will not really have you as the center point. So make sure when you go to the last part, it's going to be, it definitely is called to be a little more denser as opposed to the rest of the paragraphs, or rest of the speaking parts. The third part is actually considered to be more dense because it makes you answer questions that will require your opinion rather your perception on it. So make sure for these kinds of question you have better explanation. You need to come up with examples. You need to be more explanatory here, because within 5 minutes they're just going to ask you 3 to 4 questions, so you will have almost a minute to explain yourself for each kinds of questions. So the part 3 is basically related to your opinion on things. Part 2 is related to a topic that you have to speak for 1 minute, and part 1 are such questions that generally involve you, your lifestyle, your friends. So you are the central focus of these kinds of questions. And with this, we come to an end of the speaking sample answers in practice. If you have any question or any doubt, you can ask me anything that you did not understand, anything that you would want to, ask, any confusion, anything you can ask me. Okay, is it all clear, Rajat? Like, do you want to ask any particular question? All right, so if everything is clear, then I will definitely see you in the next live. And also, as I told you, if you have any confusion pertaining to any modules, you can simply get a demo book from us, and it's going to be free of cost. So with that, I finished the session. So thank you so much for joining. I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you so much.